Sometimes the biggest opportunities in the NBA don't come from a team going out and chasing a player. They come from a domino falling somewhere else. A move in one city that quietly shakes a star loose in another. And tonight on the show, I watched Shams Charania connect one of those dominoes straight to the doorstep of the Los Angeles Lakers. And I had to sit straight up because the player it shook loose is a first-time All-Star, one of the most efficient scorers in the entire league, and he might be available for a fraction of what he's actually worth. So stay with me, Lakers fans, because this is a story about a chain reaction, a bargain hiding in plain sight, and a player who might be the perfect missing piece next to Luka Doncic. Here's what Shams said, cutting right through the noise. According to sources, the Los Angeles Lakers have emerged as a serious suitor for free agent guard Norman Powell. The 33-year-old sharpshooter, fresh off the first All-Star season of his career, potentially coming to Los Angeles to give Luka Doncic exactly the kind of weapon he needs. Norman Powell, in the purple and gold. Read that again, because if you understand how he became available, and you understand what this Lakers team is actually missing, you understand why this could be one of the savviest, sneakiest, smart moves of the entire offseason. And I'm here to walk you through the chain reaction that made it possible, because this is where it gets fascinating. Now, I already know some of you are going to bring up his age and his defense, and we are going to get to all of it, I promise, because I always give you the honest version. But stay with me, because the value and the fit here are genuinely special. Let me start with how Norman Powell even became available, because this is the detective part, and it's a great story. Powell spent this past season with the Miami Heat, and he was sensational. He put up the best numbers of his entire career, averaging well over 20 points a game on elite efficiency, and he earned the first All-Star selection of his life at 33 years old. He was, by any measure, one of Miami's most important players. Under normal circumstances, the Heat would move mountains to keep him, but then a domino fell. Miami pulled off a blockbuster, trading for a global superstar to headline their roster. And here's the catch. The thing that creates this whole opportunity, that massive move pushed the Heat right up against the hard financial limits of the league. Suddenly, the team that wanted to keep Norman Powell can't realistically afford to. As one prominent NBA insider put it bluntly, the Heat are likely going to lose their All-Star unless he takes a crazy discount, and he's probably gone. So through no fault of his own, through a chain reaction started by somebody else's trade, one of the best shooters in basketball is about to hit the open market. That's the crack in the door, and the Lakers should be sprinting through it. So now let me tell you exactly who Norman Powell is, because this is the part that should get you excited. Norman Powell is, simply put, one of the most efficient and dangerous scorers in the entire NBA. We're talking about a guy who just averaged better than 20 points a game while shooting right around 40% from three. Think about how rare that combination is. High volume scoring with elite, knockdown shooting efficiency. And here's the most important part for a team like the Lakers. He does it without needing the ball in his hands all the time. He's not a ball-dominant guard who needs a huge usage rate to be effective. He's a deadly catch-and-shoot threat, a smart cutter, a guy who can score in bunches off of someone else's playmaking, and who can also create his own shot when the offense breaks down. He's also a battle-tested veteran with championship experience, having won a title earlier in his career. This is a proven, polished, plug-and-play scorer in the prime of his shooting life. So now let's talk about why this fits Luka Doncic so perfectly, because this is the heart of it. But first, let me give you the full picture of this player, because his story makes the value even clearer. Norman Powell is the ultimate late bloomer, and that matters. He came into the league as a second-round pick, the 46th selection, a guy nobody handed anything to. He had to claw and scrap for every opportunity, starting as a role player on a championship team in Toronto, then slowly, season by season, expanding his game. He went from a bench piece to a starter to a 20-point scorer, and now, finally, at 33 years old, to a first-time All-Star. Think about what that journey tells you about a player. This is not a guy who was gifted his talent and coasted. This is a relentless worker who has improved every single year through sheer dedication and who just had the best season of his life at an age when most players are declining. That work ethic, that hunger, that professionalism, those are exactly the traits you want in a veteran joining a contender. And here's the key for the Lakers. A player who scratched and clawed his way up doesn't suddenly develop a huge ego when he arrives. He knows how to fit in, how to sacrifice, how to play a role, because he played roles for years before he became a star. That makes him an almost perfect addition next to a superstar like Luka. Here's the thing about Luka. He is one of the greatest offensive engines the game has ever seen. A player who commands the ball, collapses defenses, and creates open shots for everyone around him. A player like that has one fundamental need above almost all others: shooters. Specifically, he needs knockdown shooters who can punish defenses for collapsing on his drives, and ideally a secondary scorer who can carry the offense in the minutes Luka rests, without demanding the ball when they share the floor. And that is the perfect description of Norman Powell. When Luka drives and kicks, Powell is draining the open three. When defenses load up on Luka, Powell makes them pay. And when Luka sits, Powell can be a primary scoring option to keep the offense humming. He's almost a custom-built complement to exactly the kind of star Luka is. You're not adding a guy who needs touches taken away from Luka. You're adding a guy who thrives on the opportunities Luka creates and who gives the Lakers a real second scoring punch they've needed. So now let's talk about how this would actually work, because the money is the key, and there's a real path here, because Norman Powell is hitting free agency in a situation where his old team can't pay him, and where the market for him may be softer than his talent deserves. He could be available at a relative discount. The Lakers have financial tools to make a competitive offer to a veteran of his caliber, and for a player who wants to win and wants a real role on a contender, Los Angeles next to Luka is an incredibly attractive destination. He won't come for free, but for a first-team level scorer, the price could be one of the best values on the entire market, precisely because of that chain reaction in Miami that priced his old team out. That's the beauty of it. The Lakers would be cashing in on someone else's financial crunch. And let me put the on-court fit into hard terms, because once you understand the spacing math, you'll never unsee it. Luka Doncic is one of the most gravitational players in basketball. When he drives, the entire defense collapses toward him, because if they don't, he scores or finds the open cutter. The only way to slow that down is to send help. But you can only send help off a player who isn't a threat. The moment you put a 40% shooter like Norman Powell in the corner or on the wing, helping off him becomes a death sentence, because Luka will find him and he'll drain it. So what you've done is take away the defense's primary tool against Luka, the help defender. You've forced them into an impossible choice. Stay home on Powell and let Luka cook one-on-one, or help on Luka and surrender open threes to one of the best shooters in the league. There's no good answer, and it works the other way too. When Luka draws a double team, Powell is the release valve who punishes it instantly. That kind of two-way relationship between a superstar creator and an elite shooter is exactly what wins playoff games, where every possession is a chess match and easy points are gold. Powell wouldn't just fit next to Luka, he'd make Luka even more unstoppable. But I told you I'd be honest with you, so let's take the doubts head on, because on this one, they're real. The first objection is the age. He's 33, and you're always cautious about a guard on the wrong side of 30. That's fair. But here's the counter. His game is built on shooting and scoring smarts, not on freakish athleticism, and shooting is the skill that ages the most gracefully in basketball. A 40% shooter at 33 is very likely still a great shooter at 34 and 35. He just had a career year, so there's zero sign of decline. Betting on a knockdown shooter to keep shooting is one of the safest bets in the sport. The second objection is the defense. He's a 6'4" guard, and pairing him next to Luka, who has his own defensive questions, raises legitimate concerns on that end. I won't wave it away, it's real. But the Lakers would need to build the rest of their roster with that in mind, surrounding the backcourt with length and rim protection. And the offensive value Powell brings is so significant that with the right defensive personnel around him, it's a trade-off a contender can absolutely manage. Elite, efficient scoring covers a lot of sins. The third objection is whether he's a need or a luxury. Don't the Lakers need a center in defense more than another scorer? It's a fair question, and they do have other needs. But elite, efficient, low-usage shooting next to a ball-dominant superstar is never a luxury. It's a necessity. Luka's game demands it. You can address the other needs too, but passing on a value like this, a first-time All-Star at a discount, would be a mistake. And let me put this in the context of the conference the Lakers have to survive, because it raises the stakes. The Western Conference is a gauntlet, absolutely loaded with elite teams and high-powered offenses. To get through 4 rounds out there, you cannot just rely on one superstar, no matter how brilliant. Playoff defenses are built to take away your best player, to load up on Luka, to make someone else beat them. That's exactly when you need a second scorer who can rise up and deliver. A guy who can get you 25 on a night when the defense sells out to stop your star. In the regular season, you can get away with thin scoring. In a Western Conference playoff series, it gets exposed and punished. Norman Powell is the kind of proven, efficient secondary scoring threat that wins those games. The guy who makes sure the offense doesn't go quiet when it matters most. For a Lakers team that has to outgun the monsters of the West to reach the finals, adding that kind of scoring insurance next to Luka isn't a luxury. It's close to a necessity, the difference between bowing out early and playing deep into the spring. So let me tell you where my head is at, and then I've got one final thought that I think is the real key to all of this. If the Lakers pull this off, they give Luka Doncic exactly the kind of weapon every great offensive engine dreams about. A knockdown shooter and efficient scorer who doesn't need the ball, who punishes defenses for paying attention to Luka, and who can carry the offense when needed. Picture it, Luka orchestrating, defenses collapsing, and Norman Powell raining in efficient buckets all night long. Whether it pushes them to a title depends on building the defense right around it, and that's the real debate. But the offensive fit is just about perfect, and the value, because of how he became available, could be one of the steals of the summer. And here's the thought I want to leave you with, the part almost nobody is connecting. The smartest front offices in basketball don't just react to what's in front of them, they watch the whole board. They understand that when a big domino falls in one city, it creates opportunity in another, and they're ready to pounce when a star shakes loose through no fault of his own. Right now, a chain reaction started by a Blockbuster trade in Miami is about to push a first-time All-Star, one of the league's best shooters, onto the open market at a price below his true value. That kind of opportunity, an efficient, proven, plug-and-play scorer who perfectly complements your superstar available at a discount, does not come around often. The Lakers, with Luka's gravity and the allure of contending, are exactly the kind of team that should be first in line. That's not a reach, that's seeing the board better than everyone else. And the opportunity is sitting right there. So let me boil it all the way down for you, because I want this crystal clear. A ball-dominant superstar in Luka who needs elite, low-usage shooting around him more than almost anything. A first-time All-Star who provides exactly that. An efficient 20-point scorer who thrives off someone else's playmaking. A bargain price created by a rival's cap crunch. And a destination next to Luka in Los Angeles that any winning veteran would find tempting. The age and defense are real questions, but the offensive fit is about as clean as anything on the market, and the value might be the best of the summer. When the fit, the value, and the timing line up this perfectly, the smart teams don't hesitate. The Lakers have every reason to pounce, and think about how rarely a chance like this actually comes around. Elite, efficient shooters who can score 20 a night without dominating the ball are some of the most coveted players in the entire sport, and they almost never hit the open market in their prime, let alone at a discount. The only reason this one is even available is a freak chain reaction in Miami that has nothing to do with the player's ability. That's the kind of market inefficiency the smartest franchises are built to exploit. When the rest of the league is distracted, the sharp teams pounce on the value hiding in plain sight. The Lakers, with Luka's gravity making any shooter even more dangerous, are perfectly positioned to be that team. I'm not telling you it's signed. I have no reporting that says the ink is dry, and I am never going to make something up for you, because the only reason you keep coming back to me is that I shoot you straight, even when the honest version includes real questions about his age and his defense. Those questions are real, but I am telling you the talent is real. The fit with Luka is just about perfect, the value is real, and a first-time All-Star shaken loose by someone else's trade is a rare kind of bargain. And tonight, Shams Charania put the Lakers right into that conversation on national television. You stack all of that up, the fit and the value and the chain reaction that created it, and you can feel it, can't you? This one would just make sense. So here's what I need from you. Keep your phone close over the next few weeks, because once free agency opens and the dominoes really start falling, these deals can come together in a matter of hours. Remember where you were when you heard this, because if it happens, you'll want to remember the night the Lakers turned someone else's cap crunch into Luka's perfect running mate. And tell me down below, do you do it? If you're the Lakers, do you pounce on a first-time All-Star at a discount to give Luka the shooting he needs? Or do you decide the age and the defense are too risky and chase a different kind of piece entirely? I really want to hear it, because this is exactly the kind of low-cost, high-reward swing that separates the teams that maximize a superstar's window from the ones that waste it. Because somewhere in Los Angeles tonight, a front office that needs exactly what Norman Powell provides is staring at a bargain created by a domino that fell 2,000 miles away. And somewhere in Miami, a team that just landed one global superstar is quietly realizing it can no longer afford to keep the homegrown all-star it already had. And the rest of the league is circling. I'll be watching every single second of this one. And the moment anything moves, you already know I'll be right back here to break it all down for you, every single detail of it. Stay close. Sometimes the very best move a team can make is simply being ready to catch the star that someone else's blockbuster shook loose before anyone else even realizes he's falling.